Satellite online.
Transmitting from the third mole from the sun. You have tuned into Radio Cosmos.
Hey, this is Mike Thompson. Welcome back to Radio Cosmos Live. And I'm here with the amazing Mr. Chuck Foster. Thanks for coming in, Chuck. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you for having me. It's good to be here.
Excellent. Now,
Amazing, huh?
Yeah, well, again, schedules have been coming and going. You're all over the place. You're a traveling man. I like that. So let's talk a little bit about your musical background. You know, you mentioned before that you're from Ohio. That Midwestern kind of vibe to it.
Right.
And I guess, would you call your music folk music? It's a little past that.
I'm
I
a little
think,
more
so.
country, you know,
Yeah.
or Americana sometimes they call it. You know,
Okay, that's
nowadays
probably
they
the
call
right
it
term.
Americana, but I like the old country stuff, you know.
Right. Got to have a story in it.
Yes.
Other than beer, pickup truck. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Although beers and pickup truck, you know, there's
a lot of stories
There's a lot
in
of
there.
stories that happen there. Your background in music, were you always that kind of? Is that always the genre you've been drawn to, or
No,
were
not
you,
really. I mean, I first started playing. Well, I first got really interested in music when the Beatles came on, Ed Sullivan, and I wish I could go back in time and buy stock in Silvertone guitars at that time, because you know, once I saw the Beatles on television, all the girls were screaming and everything. I'm going, I want to do that.
Right.
You know? I think everybody did at that time. So that's when everybody got interested in music and everybody started playing music. And of course, I played the music that was on the AM radio stations at the time. Of course, all the Beatles stuff and all the top 40 stuff and things like that, you know. Then later on got into playing in rock bands and playing rock music. And then when I was about 23, 24 years old, a buddy of mine who played rock music also, and he was in a band, a really popular band. He wanted to get a country band together, so we got a country band together, and that's when I started playing country music. And fell in love with it. The first time I heard Jimi Hendrix, that was another game changer. That just changed music completely, you know.
Yeah, well, and it's funny because we always think about those guys, but especially, you know, my generation. Not that we're not far apart, but I didn't hear them a lot first time when they came out. You know, I was getting that second, you know, the repeat of the music, whatever you want to call it. You know, and we didn't have the cultural context or the musical context of what music sounded like at that time when those guys hit, when Jimi Hendrix hit. It was so different that they did things recording wise, and you know, yeah, the songs were written well, but the sound was just so different than anything else that had been done.
Right.
And that's what grabbed people by the boo-boo.
Right. And I was around then because I'll be 68 years old next week. So when Hendrix came out, I was around then, and I was listening to that kind of music, and then everything just changed after that, and things started progressing, you know.
So that's really cool though, that you could kind of you lived through that, you know, because the rest of us kind of think back and I always shock people when I go, yeah, Beatles were cool. I mean, I you know, but you take them out of context and it's kind of, they wrote a lot of silly songs too.
Yeah, they did.
You know, but you put it into context and it's
Right.
like, holy crap, where did these guys come from?
Context is everything. Because first it was Elvis, and then the Beatles came along. It was the Beatles, and then Hendrix came, and then.
Well, same thing with Elvis. I mean, nowadays you can dismiss Elvis like, yeah, whatever. You know, I mean, I can. I'll get beat up. I know a couple of young ladies from Tennessee that are going to have a piece of me for saying that. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, okay, that's cool. But, you know, my mom got arrested. Well, she didn't get arrested, I should say. My mother would never get arrested. But she was at the Elvis show in Jacksonville where he got arrested for doing this.
Oh,
doing
yeah,
this.
yeah,
And
yeah.
the police were like, we told you not to do that. Out of here. Yeah. So anyway, listening to your music, man, you're a picker. You're a player, and very impressive.
Well, thank you.
Now, is that something that, again, is that a direction you felt pulled in, or is that something that just the kind of music you were playing, that's what the skill you had to develop?
Well, I played lead guitar for years, in a band. I worked with a fellow out of Nashville, Bobby Borchers. I worked with him for a year, and he wrote a lot of big songs, had some big country hits. And then I started my own band, Cheyenne, in Cincinnati, and I did that for a number of years, probably 15 years. We opened a show for a lot of people and stuff like that. Then when I turned 40, I decided I needed a 401k.
It's funny how life comes a knocking.
So I dropped out of college to play music full time. And then when I turned 40, I went back to college, finished college, and then I didn't play music for 20 years. I was an engineer, worked as a controls engineer, and
Nice.
I did that. And then when I turned 62, well, before I turned 62, actually, I was in my mid to late 50s, I picked up the guitar again. Only this time I started playing finger style. Put on a thumb pick, started doing the Travis thumb picking thing.
Right.
Because I figured if I'm going to play solo, I want to be able to accompany myself in a way that sounds more full. And to me, I like that finger picking style. I can cover the bass and that kind of thing.
Well, it really sets you apart too. I mean, God bless the strummers of the world, but they all kind of sound the same.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that, at least on the playing side. So, yeah.
Well, I don't know if I'd say they all sound the same, but
Well,
I don't want to get in trouble here.
again,
But
was that a generalization? I think it was. Yeah. But you know what I mean, though. It's you notice people. How about that's a better way to say it? You notice people. You stand out more.
Finger picking kind of sets you apart a little bit, and most of what I do is like Travis style picking or banjo rolls, and I incorporated that. So when I turned 62, I moved down here from the greater Cincinnati area and went out and played an open mic night, and they asked me to play, and then other people started asking me to play, and now I'm just
playing all the time.
Playing all the time.
Who needs a 401k?
Right.
Wait till you die. Well, it's funny you should mention the banjo roll. Not that I'm a expert on technique or whatever, but I was going to ask you if you had like a bluegrass kind of background, because it does have that, that type of picking more than. I'm not a big country guy, but more than what you normally hear out of a country, and I was wondering if that was kind of a cross between that folksy Americana
somewhat,
thing.
I mean, when you're playing playing bars and you're doing cover songs, you got to play everything.
Yeah.
You got to keep everybody happy. You got to play a little bit of everything, and then from that you draw a little something from everything to kind of create your own style. Such as my own style is.
Yeah, well, I think it's there. Yeah, I mean, you got that, chugga down the train track, going on.
I love Merle Haggard.
Yeah.
My favorite singer is Merle Haggard. My favorite songwriter is John Prine.
Not too bad pair to.
The first person I met when I moved down here was Gary Nichols, and so he and I became good friends. His favorite songwriter is Guy Clark, so Guy Clark's a great songwriter, so we kind of fell into cahoots and we play together a lot.
Yeah, Gary's a good guy.
He is a really good guy.
He made fun of me on the show though. But there's ample room for that.
If he keeps hanging around me, he's going to lose his reputation.
Well, he's going to retire here pretty soon, so you might there might be a whole new Gary coming out. You just saying. As far as you talked about Americana or do you see and this is actually the question I kind of asked to Gary is because he has that same, it's different, but y'all are saying in the same kind of genre, pigeonhole, whatever. Do you see that as being something, it's a pretty good niche? Is that a healthy niche? Is there people out in the world that gravitate towards that kind of music and really look for that sound?
There is, and now I think it's great because now with the internet, there's so many outlets for people that you can get your music out there, and you can actually go out and travel, sell your CDs, and you know, and there's so much more music to listen to. When I was a kid, you listened to what was on the radio.
Right. Well,
there was 40 songs on there. Was a top 40, and that's what everybody listened to, whether you wanted to or not. And you really had to go dig and buy albums and dig into it.
Well, I tell you, when I was a kid, and in my formative years being like the '80s, yeah, it was the same thing then.
Yeah,
There was probably more like top 20, but that's just.
But now I don't know. I hate to say it, I don't know that many people that really listen to radio anymore.
Yeah.
You know, if you're in your car, you might listen to it. Everything's
Except for
Sound-
WKGC
That's right.
FM
Oh.
90.7,
well, of course.
the only radio station you ever need.
But you know,
But other than that, yeah, I know. What you
as
mean.
far as sitting home, and I
Yeah.
think I'll turn on the radio. Everybody's listening to Spotify. Everybody's streaming. Everybody's, you know. Now, of course, now all radio stations have kind of adapted to that. You have podcasts now, and you can go out and listen on the internet. So it's all kind of merging together. But it's still, before, if you wanted people to hear your music, you pretty much had to go to Nashville. You had to pay a fortune and get your songs, and had to beg somebody to play them on the radio. You know,
If they would,
if they
yeah.
would, and it was a lot tougher. You
Yeah.
know, and now that it's opened up, you know, there's so much more talent out there that I guess was kind of always there, but now it's kind of being nurtured and growing because
Yeah.
people see a way, you know, and the same thing with like learning how to play and stuff. I can't tell you how many times during the course of a week that myself will go to YouTube and turn it on and go to find somebody to learn a lick or new lick or something, you know. And you didn't when I was a kid learn how to play guitar.
You just pick the
If you
needle
wanted to
up
play
and went
guitar-
back and pick the needle up. And
Yeah.
I hit rewind on the tape deck. But
Right. I had to put the needle on the. But or you had to find somebody to play guitar, and you had to follow them around. You had to pester the hell out of them until they'd show you a little something to get rid of you, and then you'd learn that, and then you'd follow them around some more, you know. And that's the only way there was to learn. But now it's all different, and it's
great.
created a lot better music, a lot more music, you know.
Okay.
Well, back in the day,
You know.
I was actually arrogant enough to think that I could do it myself, you know. So in the band Cheyenne in Cincinnati, we had a good following. We were making good money playing, you know, gigs, and I thought we can do this. So we cut a record. We actually mailed it out, 3,000 radio stations. We had 500 radio stations playing this record. But I never thought past that. You have to press these records. You have to get them in stores so people can buy them, or the radio stations are going to stop playing them.
Yeah.
So that's another whole layer that you have.
Well, I mean,
at that time,
you know,
that's the way it
yeah.
had to be done. And
Every-
you got 1,000 cities. You got to press records and send them to these stores and track all this stuff. It takes a team of people. You know, if you don't have it,
Yeah, and you know, everybody thinks about the labels as being like this evil empire, you know, and to a point, either you were in with them or you weren't.
right.
And you know, and I remember hearing an interview with Gene Simmons from Kiss. You know, he's like, "I love labels. They made me a lot of money."
Oh yeah.
You know, because once you were in, they were good because they were, as long as you were going to make money for them, they were going to make money for you. You
Well,
know?
yeah.
But getting in was always the issue.
You know,
But it was also a filter that. Now there was a lot of quality music that never got heard, but also the music that did get heard, you would like to think there was a level of quality to it, and
Right.
you know, because there were people managing them, and then it turned into a kind of the Wild West where you had good, bad, and the ugly. And again, it's art. What's good, what's bad.
right.
You know, I mean, some songs are extremely simple and they're wonderful, and some songs are amazingly executed and they wear you out and you don't
Different
care.
songs serve different purposes. I hear people saying, "Well, I can't stand this kind of music," or "I hate that kind of music." Well, I don't like. I like a wide variety of music, an eclectic mix of music, but songs have different purposes. There's dance music like disco that served a purpose. I mean, people had fun. They got out in the dance floor. That's what that music was good for. You know, Bob Dylan. That was a entirely
You sit
different
and
thing.
listen,
You
yeah.
listen to the lyrics, and you know, and there's just, you know, Motown. That was huge. I mean, that was great. But all these rap or country or bluegrass, these are all different types of music that fill a void, and they serve a different purpose.
Right.
You know, and so it's all good. You wouldn't want to do without any of it. You have your favorites, other people have their favorites, but it's all different.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing about it, you know.
And that's one thing, okay, as an independent artist, i.e., you don't have a label telling you to sound the same every time so that we can brand you or whatever. Do you find that to be something that that you really like, is to pull those little elements from different areas in your songwriting?
Well, I do.
Do you find yourself doing that?
Well, I do, and see, I don't have to worry about. I'm retired. I don't have to worry. I don't have to do this for a living. I do it now for the right reason, because I love doing it. But I didn't start writing really anything worth listening to until past dozen years or so, because earlier when I was playing music and I was trying to write music, I was always listening to the radio saying, okay, what's on the radio? What do people want to hear? What can I write that'll sell records? And that's exactly the wrong approach, in my opinion, for me anyway. You should be writing songs about you, and songs about your experiences, and songs that you relate to. And I find that if you write songs that you relate to, other people will relate to them too. We all grew up in the same small town.
Yeah.
We all had the same experiences. I wrote a song called The Creek, and I wrote this about this creek that I played in as a kid, and I wrote this song, but everybody's
jumped in.
Everybody's been to
At least
the creek.
around
Where'd
here.
you spend all your time when you were a kid, man? You were at the creek,
Yeah.
Everybody was. So that's something that I relate to, that everybody else relates to just automatically, so.
Well, and again, talking about, going back to that discussion we had about the Beatles and Jimmy, they never tried to sound like anybody else, and,
No.
and that's why I think it was Mr. Calvin Gann, our sound man right here, that we were talking about, this American Idol or The Voice or whatever. And I think, Calvin, your comment was like, Bob Dylan would have never got on there. And Jimi Hendrix would have never got on there. And, because they didn't sound like the sound that everybody's looking for. They were doing something different. So, yeah, I think that's really cool. And it's probably, if you're trying to sound like everybody else, you're in a pond with everybody else. And there's a lot of good players out there, and singers and songwriters. But when you do something different, okay, you might hit with less people, but you're going to hit with them, and they're going to remember. So yeah.
But to me, like today, more so than ever in history that I can remember, and I can say this because I don't have to worry about it, but what's coming out of Nashville right now to me sounds like it was all written by the same person. It sounds like it was all cut in the same studio with the same musicians and the same engineers and the same people mixing it, the same people mastering it.
Well, I think it's
and the songs may be a little different, but all of them, it's like, wow, that sounds like the mix that I heard. That sounds like, and it all sounds, even if the songs are different, it's all got that. It all went through the same studio, and
well, I think it's the same people. I mean, there's a small group of people up there that and they're amazing at what they do.
They are.
It's just they've locked into a formula. I kind of equate it to pop and rock music, even rock music in the the 80s. It all sounded the same, right?
Yeah.
Same deal. Because you went to LA and they turned the big crank and you popped out the other side with a good sounding record. And it's kind of the same thing in Nashville now. They got a formula where it's like, don't bring your guitar. We got guys.
This is what works. This is what sells. This is what we do.
And we'll get them in here, and they work at triple scale, but they'll do it in one take. They'll do it 2 takes, so you have 2 things to choose from. And then boom, 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 they'll be in and out. You come in and sing your parts. We'll have some backing vocals for you by the lovely ladies over here or whoever. And you pop out the other side, and it sounds great, but it's the same people.
I saw that, in the documentary, The Wrecking Crew.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that
was
I didn't really realize
60s.
that the Beach Boys didn't play on their records, That was The Wrecking Crew. And what Brian Wilson said was, well, the Beach Boys could have done it, but it would have taken us 6 weeks. These guys did it in 3 days.
Yeah. And then the same thing, you move forward. Quincy Jones would call all the guys from Toto, and they, Steve Lukather and those guys would come in and knock it out in a the people making the records weren't even on the record.
When you got a group of studio musicians and they play together 12 hours a day every day, and they just become so tight that it's just hard to beat that kind of thing, And that's the one thing that I have in my home studio that no other studio in the world has, is time. Yeah. It doesn't cost me a nickel. I can take hours and hours and hours to lay down a track,
Absolutely. Well, I tell you, we could go on chatting like this. It's fascinating stuff. We didn't even got into talking about different rooms sound different ways, and producers would go to this to get that, all that stuff. But I really want to hear some music. So what do you say we hop over next door and get your guitar and do some stuff.
Let's do it.
All right. We're going to hop over there. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Mike Thompson, and you're watching Radio Cosmos Live!
All right, we're back here with the amazing Mr. Chuck Foster, and we're going to hear some music. What you got for us first, buddy?
Well, this is a song, one of the first songs that I wrote. This is a song about a town I grew up in, a little town called Moscow, Ohio, about 35 miles east of Cincinnati on the banks of the Ohio River. It's a great town to grow up in, about 300 people. One gas station out on the highway, 2 grocery stores, 4 bars and 8 churches. Well, I grew up in a real small town and knew everybody from miles around. There were cracks in the roads and old stop signs. Folks around here didn't seem to mind. Wrought iron fences and new mowed yards, big elm trees, and old junk cars. Down by the river we drink and howl. I sure did love my old hometown. Well, a man from the city came out one day, and he promised us all a better way. A new power plant would make us rich. We all believed that son of a bitch. And then the big trucks came to the old cornfield, and they poured concrete over bars of steel. They threw money all around. They bought up most of my hometown. Well, now the old schoolyard ain't looked the same since old Thad Nelson passed away. The old town folk were still around. What would they say when they saw their town? Where the old stone mansion used to be, it's now home to generator number 3. In the swimming hole where we'd spend our hours, now pumps the water to the cooling tower. But there's new sidewalks and a new high school and tennis courts and a swimming pool. I can't find my way around. I kinda miss my old hometown. Shadows of the smokestacks now, I sure do miss my whole hometown. Yeah, I do.
That's 150 people per grocery store.
There you go, that is.
That's some pretty good service. And you know, it's funny, you know, we're talking about everybody has those shared memories, you know, and I grew up here in Panama City, and man, all that hits home.
Yep, we all grew up in the same small town.
And everything's changed. Dang it! What else you got there for
let's
us?
see, I'll sing. My song list is kind of like a biography almost.
Uh-oh.
A story of my life. So
I'm gonna learn something about you here. Pay attention. You might just learn something.
Well, as I was saying earlier, I spent most of my time when I was a young kid on the farm before I was old enough for them to put me to work.
Then it was time to play music.
Yeah. Spent my time down by the creek, and I think most every kid that age spends most of their time at the creek if there's one within walking distance. It's called a creek. It goes something like this. At 4 p.m. the brakes would squeal on that old yellow bus. Up to his room to change his jeans, and out the door he'd rush. Past the clothesline, down the cow path to that hallowed ground. And you could find him by the creek until the sun went down. Crawdad holes and young tadpoles are turning into frogs.
fat bluegill and the whippoorwill playing in the logs. The mud between his barefoot toes and the sunburn on his cheek. Yeah, you could always find that boy down at that damned old creek. Well, the years went by, his fancy turned to the fairer sex, but not so much that he forgot the things he loved the best. Saturday is standing date down at the picture show. Hurry home and out the door, down to the creek they go. Crawdad holes and young tadpoles are turning into frogs, and the fat bluegill and the whippoorwill are dancing in the logs. The mud between their barefoot toes and the sunburn on their cheeks. Yeah, you could always find them two down at that damned old creek. Now they married and they built a house down where the waters run, and they raised up a baby boy to be his daddy's son. And though the world spins faster now, it comes as no surprise. He still sees those willow trees through a young boy's eyes. Now folks all know the young tadpoles soon will turn to frogs, like little boys turn into men and men into old dogs. It just goes to show the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You can always find them little boys down at that damned old creek.
I love it.
The creek.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Thank you. But while I'm capoed up on this fret,
While we're in the neighborhood,
some songs, since you asked.
so tell me about some songs there, Chuck.
Well, some songs you write, you know, you start out and you put them on a shelf and pull them back out. Some songs take you a day to write, some take you a week, some a year, and some you just sit down and you write them. And this is a song that I just sat down and wrote. And I got out of bed at 2 o'clock in the morning with it on my mind, just sat down and wrote it. This is a song primarily about my daughter, but it's a song for anyone who's raised kids and you can't wait to get them up and get them out of the house until it's time for them to go. It's called Unpack My Heart. It goes like this. Down your mama's suitcase, lay it on the bed and pack up our life together like the memories in my head. We both knew this day would come. It's what you've waited for, when the world would come a-calling and you don't need me anymore. Now pack up your diploma and some pictures of the farm. Don't forget your grandma's patchwork quilt. It'll always keep you warm. Pack up that old teddy bear. His fur is wearing thin, but I know he'll make you think about me every now and then. Unpack my heart. When you get to where you're going, you don't have to treat it gentle, honey. It's already broken, and you know you'll never lose it. Even if you were to try, it will always be there with you, honey, till the day you die. I know you'll always love me and you'll visit by and by. When I long to see you, I'll just have to close my eyes. The fruit of life is bittersweet from the seeds of love we've sown. When your babies grow up to have babies of their own, unpack my heart. When you get to where you're going, you don't have to treat it gentle, honey. It's already broken, and you know you'll never lose it. Even if you were to try, it will always be there with you, honey, till the day you die. Unpack my heart.
You're killing me, Chuck. My daughter is starting senior year of high school this year.
Well,
It's already looking at colleges.
oh, it's rough.
Good tune, though. Good tune.
Thank you. Well, let's see.
What else you got in that little bag of yours?
I guess I ought to cheer things up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm a little teary-eyed.
All right. Well, this here song, I always say I started writing, and it's true, I started writing a song about my ex-wife, and every time I got started, I got pissed off all over again, so I thought,
This is a cheery song, right?
I thought,
This
why
is-
don't you write a song about some girls that you like, you know? So
There
I
you
did.
go.
So actually, the truth behind it is, as a lot of songs come, my wife said something. She was talking about my grandson, and she said, "You gotta love a boy like that," and I'm like, whoa. That's a
Ding.
song, so I changed it to "You Gotta Love a Girl Like That," and it goes something like this. Sweet as peaches, right as rain, she's my little hurricane. She likes collard greens and okra fried. I swear that girl, she's bona fide. Now she fills out them jeans just like a sack of wild bobcats. Lord above, you've got to love a girl like that. Cowboy hat, snakeskin boots, bleached blonde hair with dark brown roots. She thinks my guitar is cool, and I think she's a dancing fool. At night when it gets cold outside, she turns my thermostat. Lord above, you've got to love a girl like that. She don't clean or do the dishes. She drinks beer and she hunts and fishes. She's slow to love and she's quick to anger. She must be my doppelganger. Hair smells good and her face is pretty. She makes love while talking dirty. She drives an old Ford pickup truck. Man, that girl knows how to cook. When I defend her honor, she's right there to hold my hat. Lord above, you've got to love a girl like that. Now listen, concerning matters of the heart, she's always there to take my part. Some big old boy starts to talking trash. She says, "Go ahead, Chuck, and whoop his ass." I'm standing here with two black eyes, both my lips are fat. Lord above, you've got to love a girl like that. She don't clean or do the dishes. She drinks beer and she hunts and fishes. She's slow to love and she's quick to anger. She must be my doppelganger. Hair smells good and her face is pretty. She makes love while talking dirty. She drives this old Ford pickup truck. Man, that girl knows how to cook. When I defend her honor, she's right there to hold my hat. Lord above, you've got to love a girl like that. Lord above, you've got to love a blonde-haired beauty, green-eyed cutie, heart of gold with a firm round booty. Man, you've got to love a girl like that. Yes, you do. Thank you.
You scared me there for a second, man. Chuck, we gonna have to have that talk? Okay, guess
I
not.
thought we were gonna have to hit the bleep button there.
I think I know that girl. I think I dated her in high school.
Oh. Well.
And you know who I'm talking about.
Oh, we all know that girl. We all wanted to date that girl.
Yeah. Oh wait, it's the girl I wanted to date in high school.
Yeah. Oh. Well, as I said earlier, my favorite singer in the world was Merle Haggard, and this is one of those songs that's kind of an autobiographical song. goes something like this. There were times I took to whiskey just to feel a little less. Drink all night, stay awake with some measure of success. 80 proof of no redemption, I'll just stay here and drink Jack Daniels, Merle Haggard, and me. Now Jack gave me the courage when I was all alone. Merle kept me holding on when he'd sing me back home. I'll spend this night just 3 old friends that haunt my memory. Jack Daniels, Merle Haggard, and me. Jack Daniels made the whiskey, Merle Haggard wrote the songs. And I'm just happy to be here to pass these things along. This guitar has felt my broken heart more than a time or two. It helped me write a sad song when I was a-feeling blue. Merle Haggard taught me how to sing when I was 23. Jack Daniels, Merle Haggard, and me. Well, no surprise, just us old guys in 3-part harmony. Jack Daniels, Merle Haggard, and me. Jack Daniels, Merle Haggard, and me. That's country, buddy.
That's, yes. I love watching you, what your expression and what you channeling your inner Merle.
Inner Merle?
Merle. Had a guy tell me one time, and I said something about all the faces he made when he was singing. He said, well, you got to get your mouth wrapped around if you want to sound
That's
like
right.
that.
Well, when I write songs anyway, they're always either biographical, autobiographical, observational. Observational, is that a word? Yeah, that's a word.
Sure.
Or a composite of all that. And this is kind of a composite. It's kind of a metaphor of a song for how the sacrifices and the compromises that we make along the way in life. In an old clapboard house on the banks of the river, in a part of town where the church folk don't go. After she had taken all this old world could give her, her mama died of giving birth to young Scarlet Rose. Now whispers and laughter, you know kids can be mean, and her daddy did his best from the corner of the bar. And her clothes smelled of old number 2 kerosene every Friday night in the back seat of that car, just making the best of a sad situation. Secondhand news and hand-me-down clothes, short on hope, long on determination, and he poured in the storm for young Scarlet Rose. good Lord taketh, and the good Lord giveth. And the good Lord sure had given it to Rose. All the opportunity a pretty girl could live with. She folds her hands and prays to God, and Mama never knows. Well, the years flowed downstream with the river's muddy water, from the upper hand of youth to the crippling hands of time. The garden's brightest blossom and a broken drunkard's daughter, who went to the highest bidder in the summer of her prime, just making the best of a sad situation, second-hand romance and designer clothes. Damn the pure and their righteous indignation, and he poured in the storm for young Scarlet Rose, just making the best of a sad situation, second-hand romance and designer clothes, morality open to interpretation, and he poured in the storm for young Scarlet Rose. Every port, every storm for old Scarlet Rose. Thank you.
Good stuff, man.
Well, now
Good
what we're
stuff.
gonna do?
You're the guy with the list, not me.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's do one here. I get a lot of requests for this song. I'm gonna have to tune down,
Oh.
so we're gonna have to rely on my ears. Maybe not. Maybe I should rely on my tuner.
Nah.
That'd be cheating, wouldn't it?
That technology stuff is not your friend. Right, Tom?
Right.
Wrote this song about my grandpa, who was born in 1891. He died in 1973, just short of my 20th birthday. And as a kid on the farm, I remember he used to come out every fall and stay with us for a couple of weeks when it was tobacco season. Mm-hmm. And back then, they didn't bale tobacco. Back then, well, you had to help strip it, but they folded it into what they called hands, which, when you got done, looked like a head of cabbage. You know, and that's the way you took it to market. So he'd be out there for a couple of weeks.
That was hard work,
Every
too.
fall, it was hard work. And he was up
Cut a
until,
little tobacco. A little backy.
oh yeah, it's work all year long. Suckering it, worming it, topping it, hoeing it. Anyway, up until the day he died, he hunted, trapped, fished. He was He never really learned to read or write. He was one of the smartest men I ever knew. He'd sit on the back porch when the day's work was done. His neck and his arms burnt red from the sun. Tune in the ball game on his old RCA radio. An old red bandana, he'd wipe off the sweat, light up his pipe as he watched the sunset, and I'd sit down beside him and listen to the stories he told. He ain't old. He'd tell me about horses in old New Orleans, paint pictures of places that I'd never seen. As the smoke from his old corncob pipe formed a silver halo. Now we'd talk about baseball and dandelion wine. He taught me to trap and to run a trot line. And he'd take me hunting down by the old groundhog hole. He ain't old. He ain't old. Wishing that I could go fishing again and hear all those stories you told me back then. Grandpa, I miss you. You were a good friend, but I know that one day I'll be with you again. I remember the phone call the day that he died. I took all those feelings and stuffed them inside. I take them out sometimes at night when I'm feeling alone. Now the next time I see him, I'll know that I'm gone, but he'll make it feel just like I'm coming home, 'cause he left me memories more precious than silver and gold. He ain't old, he ain't old, wishing that I could go fishing again and hear all those stories you told me back then. Grandpa, I miss you, you were a good friend, but I know that one day I'll be with you again. He ain't old, he ain't old.
That was strong.
Thank you.
Strong. Yeah, it's funny. I know. I think I talked to my grandmother. She's been passed away a few years now. But I came to realization while she was telling me some stories and stuff. This is like a world that's gone. Yeah. And as these people leave us, that world disappears a little more. And
It does, and then you kind of wish, man, I sure would like to go back and listen a little closer and ask a few more questions,
Yeah. Well, especially as you get older, and it's like, okay, now I kind of understand. I've lived a little, and I get what she was telling me instead of what I was hearing. That might be a way to say that. But
right now that
good stuff.
Now that I'm my age, my mom and dad's gone, my older brother's gone. So I realize that these times that I'm talking about and singing about and remembering, I'm the only one that remembers it.
Yeah.
Nobody else remembers these people or these things or these times. It's all me, A little scary.
A lot of pressure for you to live for a long time, buddy.
I know. I didn't.
Well, but see, I mean, you're all that stuff is what made you.
And
then your experiences too. But I mean, that's that whole your whole family kind of feeds into who you are.
Draw from all that to write,
Yeah.
So.
But I tell you, I love those, the songwriter and the storyteller. But you're painting these pictures. That in my own head, I got my own history. My own family history. I'm only one generation off the farm. When you talk about all this, run a trot line. I remember my daddy teaching me how to do that. And just people saying the words trot line, which it's not something you hear.
Yeah.
Ever anymore. But, well, not my neighborhood. Maybe we were at Calvin's house. You can hear that once in a while. But y'all run trot lines over there, Calvin? Yeah, baby. All right, good stuff though, man.
That's
Good stuff.
Finish.
And again, I'm not surprised that a lot of people can relate to those songs because, we all had grandpas that were bigger than life and did adventures and saw things in a world where those existed. And a lot of ways, those opportunities.
Your grandpa's like, when you're a kid, your dad's always.
His dad.
He's dad. He's always kicking your ass. He's always, you can't do this. You can't. Your grandpa.
Oh yeah.
I
heard
let's
stories.
Go get in some trouble.
Oh. If I did any of that, my dad would kill me.
I hear you.
All right,
Well,
we
here's
have time
another
for a
song.
couple more. So
couple
yeah,
more, well,
I'm loving this. Let's keep it rolling, baby.
Here's a song you can relate to.
Uh-oh.
A song I can relate to. The way I spent most of my life, the way a lot of working people spent most of their lives. It's called Paycheck to Paycheck. Paycheck to paycheck, cradle to grave, 8 to 5:30, day after day. Now the eagle flies on Friday, but by Wednesday it's hard times. Paycheck to paycheck, dollars to dimes. Income tax and union dues, car needs brakes and the kids need shoes. Maxed out on the credit card, cash and carry, times is hard. Aches and ills and doctor bills, my bank account's bone dry. I guess I'll live forever, hell I can't afford to die. Paycheck to paycheck, gone with the wind, from rags to riches and back again. Now the more I get, the more I like. It's 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. Paycheck to paycheck, the heart attack. Finally 5 o'clock on Friday, I punched the old time card. Saturday I'll fix the car and rake and mow the yard. Sunday I'll rest up so I can do it all again. But I wake up Monday wondering where the hell the weekend went, paycheck to paycheck. My ship comes in and I watch her sail right out again. I'm working like a rented mule, a self-made manufactured fool, paycheck to paycheck, moaning the blues. My car won't shift past second gear, but I own that sucker free and clear. It's easy come and easy go. Ass and elbows, don't you know? Paper plates and solo cups and plastic silverware. My retirement plan is a lotto ticket and a lot of prayer, paycheck to paycheck, cradle to grave. 8 to 5:30, day after day. Well, the eagle flies on Friday, but by Wednesday it's hard times, paycheck to paycheck, dollars to dimes, paycheck to paycheck. Well, bread and butter, ham and beans, a piss and moan and kick and scream, paycheck to paycheck, living the dream.
Yeah.
Paycheck to paycheck, baby, that's the way I do it.
Well, yeah.
Direct deposit to direct deposit now.
Yeah. Right. Direct deposit to automatic withdrawal. I just call it imaginary money.
Well, what we got time for?
We got time for a couple more, man.
A
These
couple
songs,
more?
you got to write
Okay.
longer songs, but you got plenty. So
Well, I like
I'm
keeping 3 minutes because, you know, I
Yeah.
never want to overstay your welcome. You know?
radio friendly.
Leave them wanting more. That's right.
That's right. Whenever it comes back around, that big wheel's turning. You'll be ready.
So it's a song about marriage.
No, this one might be
A
long
lot
or
of
short.
marriage. A lot of marriage. I married the hell out of that woman. It's called Why We Fight. We've been together for so damn long that I can't remember when I wasn't wrong. We used to go at it like a couple wild rabbits. Now we sit on the couch and we swap bad habits. We don't fight like we used to do. We just squabble a little every hour or two. Now we might not be quite right, and that's why we fight. She keeps changing the toilet paper holder. She likes it under and I like it over. She wakes me up at night with her damn cold feet, and now and then I pee a little on the toilet seat. Well, she folds up my socks and she puts them in a drawer. I take them out and wear them and throw them on the floor. Now we might not be quite right, and that's why we fight. We've been married since '82, and there's still towels she won't let me use. We're sneaking around behind each other's back over 2 damn degrees on the thermostat. Well, I don't want to hear a bad word about her. It's hard living with her, but I can't live without her. Now I'm getting older, and she's got me thinking. Parts of me are growing and parts of me are shrinking. Now she can't remember just what it is she's missing. She pretends to scold me and I pretend to listen. She bitches about my store and I bitch about her cooking. And she hides my whiskey when I ain't looking. We might not be quite right, and that's why we fight. We might not be right, and that's why we fight. You know I ain't right. And that's why we fight. Yes, sir.
Can't relate at all.
I can't relate at all.
Calvin, you know anything about that kind of stuff? Nope. Okay. Tom, I know you don't. Or at least you won't say.
That's right.
He's married to a lovely Italian woman.
Silence is golden.
Yes. And healthy. I love you.
What do you say? One more?
Yeah, we got one more in us, I think.
All right.
Yeah, give us a good one.
All right.
They're all good ones,
Well, I
but
appreciate that.
I know you've been hiding one in your back pocket.
Yeah, as we were talking about earlier, the new country songs. Kept hearing boys singing, well, I say boys, anybody under 50, singing songs about life on the farm, and I just can't relate to
their
the
air
hot
condi-
rod pickup trucks and girls and Daisy Dukes and the big bonfires and parties, because I must have grew up in a different part of the country or a different farm.
No, we didn't have that on our farm.
What I remember about farming is the 2 hottest days of the year, you're out in the field throwing bales of hay up on a wagon. So I wrote this song. It's called The Hay Baling Blues. It goes a little bit something like this right here. Without an itch and chafe gets down your neck and bugs crawl up your arm. Feeling like a heat stroke, but there's no cause for alarm. I ain't had a drink of water in so very long. They say hard work won't kill you. Hell, I'm here to prove them wrong. Gotta slow that tractor down and bales are getting huge. I'm up here on this wagon with these hay baling blues. Now up there in the hayloft, the sweat just a-pouring down. They're handing me another bale each time I turn around. I'm smelling like a billy goat and aching in my back. Now stacking this alfalfa's giving me a heart attack. All of this here bovine feed is more than I can't use. I'm up here in the rafters with these hay baling blues. I'll just bale a little hay down. Now listen, I have seen that same old story play out time and time again. That hay goes in the cow's mouth, comes out the other end, and then you have to shovel it off of the old barn floor. And you spread it out there on the field, and you grow yourself some more. And I'm wondering what you would do if you were in my shoes, standing in manure with these hay baling blues. Oh, let's go to the house now. Son.
All right, excellent.
Thank you very much.
Chuck, that mean old Mistress Time has caught up with us.
Oh, darn.
Tell us all your .coms and where people can hear your music and
Well,
all that good stuff.
I'm playing at Patches over on the beach every Sunday.
Love Patches.
6 o'clock.
Love
And
Patches.
Gary Nichols and I are playing week after next week. We play a lot at Pineapple Willie's.
Love Pineapple Wills.
So I'll be at Alibi Beach Lounge Friday night and the Fleet Reserve on Saturday.
Yeah.
And you can check my schedule at chuckfostermusic.com.
chuckfostermusic.com.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I didn't even ask you, CD coming soon?
Yes, it will be.
All right. So estimated time of... Okay, that's not a fair question.
Before the end of the year.
Oh, okay. So beautiful. All right. Thank you so much, Chuck. Amazing, man. We're going to have you back if you'll join us.
I'd love to.
That's going to do it for us this week. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.